So hi, welcome to Middleware Friday. This is for Friday, June
6th.
6th. So we're here joined today with
Kevin Lam.
So Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself for the two people that may not know who you are?
For the two people who are watching?
No, we have way more than that.
Okay.
Yeah. Just only two of them may not know who you are.
All right. Hi, I'm Kevin Lam. I'm a principal program manager on Logic Apps. I look after kind of the core of the Logic Apps engine, and I've been in this integration space at Microsoft for about 20 years.
So I think everyone knows Steef-Jan, but why don't you just go ahead and...
Yeah, Steef-Jan. So I was one of the speakers here. I'm an Azure domain lead, coded. Oh, actually also IoT, by the way. So yeah.
Cool. So we just finished the Integrate Summit here in London, and so we wanted to get Kevin's perspective. There was a lot of interesting announcements related to Azure and integration. So Kevin, what were some of the highlights for you for this particular event?
You know, coming to Integrate is always a fantastic time for the product team to connect and talk about our products. It's, you know, these are the most engaged customers that we have, and they're, you know, really focused on integration. And so it's a real joy to go ahead and talk about our product line and our next and up and coming features. You know, a couple of big features that I think people are very excited about is our ICE,
That's
our
cool.
integration service environment. Yeah. So that's a really big deal, and then you know, we're going to come out with a private preview soon, and then later on into a public preview. But that's going to give you the ability to have essentially your own dedicated stamp that will give you VNet connectivity to your on-prem resources.
Cool. Yeah, that'll be nice. Yeah.
And we talked a lot about our application to our Azure integration services, and this is the concept of bringing in all of our integration services under a single brand, and that's going to really help out our partners and customers understand what our iPaaS offering is.
Cool. So I think one of the highlights for me, having done a lot of SAP integration in the past, has been the trigger.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about the SAP trigger for Logic Apps?
You know, it's been a long time customer ask, the ability to get fed and create an instance of a Logic app when a new SAP entity gets created. So now we'll have a trigger that is essentially a webhook trigger, so that it's not going to pull SAP, and it'll come back and create an instance anytime a new entity comes in. We're very excited about that one.
Yeah, no, it's
We had
cool.
a lot of guys working hard to make that happen.
Awesome. So what about you, Steef-Jan? What were some of the highlights for you?
Well, what I really like was what John Fancy and Matthew Farmer did with regards to the complete offering and how well it matured and evolved, and how seamless you can integrate with functions, Logic App versus all the messaging capability. I showed some of the stuff. Clemens did. Our little guy, what's his name? Stan. You can cut that out.
Probably not now.
No, I mean, Destin Rosanova did a good thing about it. Very good thing by Michael Stevenson. I was able to be his assistant. He did some really nice, cool things with Minecraft, and then hooking it up to functions and Flow, and even you did something in Flow. So it really, overall, was a good story, and I think we were able, as MVPs, showcasing all that stuff, we were able to do good demos that worked and they were reliable, and people really we were able to show the attendees that, you know, this is good stuff.
Yeah, I think what stood out for me was like the breadth of technology that now exists at this event, like even going back like 5 years where we focus on like one or two things. And now if you look at the agenda, like there was like, I don't know, like handfuls of different types of technology being used here. And I think the stories around what we're capable of doing now has grown so much in the past few years as well. It really opens up, customers to like new solutions. So that sounds pretty awesome.
I think we have an exciting integration world ahead of us.
Totally.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so thanks, Kevin, for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay.
Always fun to be with you guys.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Okay, so bonus coverage. So here we're with Michael Stevenson, a well-known integration cloud architect from the UK. So I guess, what did you think about the conference?
I think first off, it's a bit like weird being in the Middleware Friday sandwich here. So I'm just bigging up Integration Monday. A bit of channel.
Part of the family,
Are we competitors or collaborators?
No,
we're collaborators. Because if we became Middleware Mondays, then we might have some issues, but no, we're still good.
We've still got another 5 spare days in the week as well, so and plenty of products to choose from.
So what did you think? What did you think of Integrate this year?
So it was, first off, it was really great. My favourite bit's just to meet all the gang. You know, there's so many people here who we're all good friends with. We don't get to see each other often enough. So it's good having kind of your global mates all in the same room for a few days. I'll have catched up the conversations, find out what people are up to, what new tech people are working on. I guess the big ones for me this week, I love this, you know, you guys have heard me say it in years past, this idea of talking about all the different things on Azure as a collective product offering.
Right, yeah.
Something, you know, whatever you call it, but pitching them together makes sense, and I think that's you know a good thing for me. Personally, I liked, you know, I did a little bit of flow stuff this year, so
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, that's where all the cool stuff happened. But it was fun to play with that, you know, because it's something that I don't typically use in my day-to-day job, but it was based on a real-world scenario, and we added a little bit of fun in there.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, just to interject. So I think there's like this misconception around flow that it's like just for sort of power users or business users, and I think that's definitely our target. But you're like one of the most technical people I know.
Yes.
So the fact that you found a really good use case for it in order to automate some what you call mundane processes, because you know you've got other things you can focus on. I think like that's a compelling story, and we see it a lot within other engineering groups at Microsoft. So I guess how did you sort of come to land on Flow to sort of address some of these particular use cases?
I think the first thing is I think a lot of the best people in IT kind of like trying to avoid doing boring work. You know, you guys are the same.
Yeah.
There's things that really stimulate us, but you do end up with tasks that are just a pain in the butt, and I'm sure you guys are like me, where you just think the first thing you think of is how can I either get somebody else to do that or how can I automate it?
Get someone else to do that. It's like find an intern or
whatever. I've never done that, I have considered recruiting a PA before for something, but it's all about, you know, it's about the value in the task. So so if I'm working for a customer, they're paying me a lot of money, they don't want me doing a task that doesn't have a lot of business value.
Sure,
So
yeah, that makes
together,
sense.
You know, if we can get someone to do it, or even better still, we can automate it, and then nobody has to do it.
Right.
And you know, the whole use case requires human interaction with a process, and on the tech stack, Flow just offers such good features in that space now. You know, we've seen it this week where, you know, gone are the days of, you know, think back, BizTalk years ago had the human
workflow services,
It never really plugged that gap, you know. It was always, you know, it was
usually SharePoint
or something
but
else.
But then that's a whole other large stack that you have to manage.
Exactly.
So
now I can go from any of the tech on Azure or BizTalk even. I can find, you know, and I proved it this week by making Minecraft kick off a Flow. If you can make Minecraft do it, you can make anything do it.
True. No, very true.
So that I can kick off a human workflow that then pushes, you know, and interacting with it, I can do it from a, you know, you showed a button. We've got, you know, the dude where's my car stuff, so you can do it from a mobile app, a tablet app. It's so accessible for people to be in that process that, you know, the opportunities I think with it are huge. It's just a question of, you know, number one, the biggest problem is probably a lot of companies don't realise they get it with their Office 365.
We see that a lot.
Yeah, and then you just need someone to champion it. So the minute you get something where someone shows success, and you know, so suddenly me being the person who doesn't have to do this mundane task anymore, everyone else will notice and go, well, why aren't you doing that? And suddenly they want to automate it, and that's where the beauty of Flow is that everyone can automate themselves on the platform. Or you can do it as a team, so we can have ones where we work as a group and we can manage that properly. But I think and your session touched on it again a little bit, where it's the idea is, even though we're doing this automation stuff, it's not just offing some little weird stealth IT thing where somebody span up Zapier or if this then that, and IT don't know we've got it. We can actually manage it as part of our IT kind of platform and empower our users to go and do all that stuff. That's really
totally. Because I think I use the analogy of say early days of Excel or early days of Access, and those are situations where IT lost control or perceived that they lost control over some of these tools, and then there was dependencies that were made upon them, and then when something broke or a business process broke, naturally IT got blamed, where I think we've sort of changed that paradigm by using the cloud.
Those use cases, they had a reason why they happened.
Totally.
And a lot of the time it was because the projects themselves couldn't justify an IT budget to pay for the project to be done. but it doesn't mean that that department doesn't have an inefficiency because they're doing it manually or something else. And I think that, you know, like you showed me a little bit this week about the model-driven apps, which is I'm quite excited about for Power Apps, because I think it takes that to the next level. And I think suddenly we've got the ability for people in the business who can do projects, but we can actually keep an eye on them and we can govern it a little bit, and we've got some of the loss control prevention and all that kind of thing, which is all the things that you would want on an IT project, but we're offloading these lower value things for people to do without spending the massive amounts of money that IT budgets normally.
Right, and I think the other thing is, and I've seen this at like my previous company, was it wasn't even, you know, there's the democratization side of like sort of the business users, but I think there's also the democratization of the IT users as well. Whereas like, you know, if you were to go create like a cross-platform mobile application, if you were to do that using custom code, now you're like having to deal with all of these complexities around the different languages, the different app stores, security, those types of things, where it's now you're bringing even more people within IT without having to need like that really high level of expertise, and you can stand on the shoulders of giants to handle things like, you know, publishing and authentication and things like that.
One of the big things, you know, that's been a theme in the last few years is the fail fast idea, you know.
Absolutely.
So we all, in agile teams, we're all about trying to fail fast, but actually isn't failing fast that the idea fails before it ever became an IT project. So, you know, what we could have is, let's say our manufacturing department build an app in Power Apps, they do a little bit of something with Flow, and they actually test their idea, and they know whether the business value stacks up before they even go and request a budget from you know, the central finance team. And they might just go, do you know what, our solution's fit for purpose, we keep it. They might go, actually it doesn't work, we'll bin it. And they could also turn around and go, actually this is really valuable, we'll invest in it, which then becomes an IT project.
Yeah, no, that's true too, because we've seen that as well, where it's like, you know, some of these requests wouldn't make their way to IT ordinarily because there's this perception that it'll take too long to actually build, and then the business opportunity will be missed. And then so it's like, how do you, you know, basically validate what you're, you know, about to build really quickly so that you can figure out if you're going to double down or if you'll just scrap it and sort of move on to the next idea that might provide value.
The thing here is, you know, IT, we've all talked about this for years, about how do you in an IT department manage stealth IT, and actually now we can kind of embrace and encourage, because it's not really stealth anymore, that we know they're doing it and we can keep an eye on them and we can actually help. You know, we could, you know, it might be the case that say the HR department builds a little process and they might come along and go, actually can you knock together a function that we can call from our flow, and they just need IT to build this one little complicated bit and not the whole end-to-end piece, but they're taking responsibility for the you know, 95% of the solution. IT just does the 5% that's the hard bit. Now that isn't that you know, when we talk about disruption of businesses, if you know, everyone thinks that the startups are the ones that can be disruptive, but actually suddenly you've got a tech stack that can allow, you know, really big enterprises to start internally doing things they've never done before, and that creates opportunity. And
yeah, no, I think that's definitely part of the goal. And I would also say that like the more competitive your business is, the more opportunities there are for you within that business. Yeah. So, you know, some people may feel that there's, you know, work that might be disappearing, but I would say that there's probably greater risks if people continue to run their businesses the same way. So. All right, so any closing words, Steef-Jan?
No, I was happy to be your assistant. You did a real good
job.
Yeah.
The only rule we had was you had to remember to right click, not left click.
Exactly. And just put in a message and that all worked. That was a good demo to showcase some technology.
So while we're here, I guess just one call out would be anyone watching, we'd love feedback on what people want to see on Integration Monday and Middleware Friday. And you know, contributors who want to help out with that. Yeah. So
that's actually a good point too. So I know there's some sort of Flow viewers who may not be aware of Integration Monday. So it is a like it's a live webinar style initiative where people can submit a topic from the community. You and sometimes someone from Business 360 provide some initial support, getting people hooked up, and then you have about an hour to go ahead and you know you run the show and share your wisdom, and basically they take care of all of sort of the infrastructure behind that.
Yeah, that's all. You know, the two initiatives. The whole point of them really is about let's not wait another year before we talk about these topics again. Let's keep it going all the time because things are changing all the time.
Oh yeah, they are.
you know, it's not always easy to keep up with all, you know, for us to create all the sessions, because there's, you know, there's a lot of weeks in a year, 52 weeks a year, but we've, you know, we've had a little bit of a break for a while, but, you know, we need to get back on it. And,
Yeah, I've heard you're ramping up, so that's good.
need speakers, need topics. And,
Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Good to see you again.
Good.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks. All right, so we're here with the man of the hour. So this is Sarvan Kumar from BizTalk 360. So how does it feel? We just finished up Integrate. But this is like your, how many events have you held?
I guess it's a 6th event, I guess. It's started in 2012.
Yeah, and then the one in the US and Australia.
Yeah, there's too many.
We lost count, but it's probably around 10, I think.
So how many hours, how many collective hours does it take for you and your team to pull off an event like this?
It's about 6 months effort to pull everything together. We don't keep track of how many hours we put through, but roughly about 6 months work.
So all in all, how would you rate this one, and are you happy with the outcome of this event?
We try to make it better year on year, and we are ourselves raising the bar every year, so we just need to keep up. I'm pretty happy with this year's event. I think normally we get little hiccups here and there, but that's all addressed, and this year was one of the best years so far.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It's always a good time to come to London, and I think with the content and the event keeps getting better and better each year. And so you've announced next year's European edition, is that correct?
That's right. I think we already announced 2019. You can visit the URL. It's exactly same as 2018, just change it to 2019. It's all up and running. You can register for the event now.
Yeah, you can already buy tickets, correct?
Yeah, you can. I put my first ticket was bought by me just to check it out. It's all working.
Okay, good.
And it's tested. All right, so any closing thoughts?
And I know if attendees are watching this show, thank you everybody. We need support from everybody in the community as well. So thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you all next year.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Raise a cup up for all my day ones. 2 middle fingers for the haters. Let's only get in greater. Straight up from nothing we go. Higher than the highest skyscraper. No little league we major. The proof is in the paper. We put the good in the good in the good life. We put the good in the good in the good life. We put the bad in the past. Now we alright.
Hey Lonnie, I got you. Yeah, and it's a feeling that I can't explain. How you make it in your team still stay the same. Stay down from the jump and they never change. Man, it's a moment I could never trade. Yeah, I told my moms not to stress no more. Go hit the Bentley store and no credit card debts no more. I bought the crib and it's an escrow now, so you don't never have to worry about how you gon' pay rent no more. I put my team in position, now they making a killing. Stacking blue faces straight to the ceiling.